What began as a calm and symbolic gathering in Abuja turned into a tense and unsettling moment that left many Nigerians asking hard questions about political safety and the state of public protest in the country. On the day citizens gathered to demand electoral reform and integrity, the atmosphere was initially peaceful. Supporters arrived early, holding placards, chanting slogans, and recording the event on their phones. The protest was meant to send a message about transparency and accountability in Nigeria's democratic process, and for a time, it appeared to be achieving that goal without incident. Peter Obi's presence at the protest drew significant attention. As a former presidential candidate and a prominent voice in Nigeria's reform movement, his appearance alone transformed the gathering into a national spectacle. Cameras followed his movements, supporters surged closer to him, and security officers maintained a visible perimeter. To many of those present, his attendance symbolized solidarity with citizens who felt disillusioned with the political system. It also raised the stakes of the event, because any gathering involving a high-profile political figure carries risks that ordinary protests do not. Witnesses described the early hours of the demonstration as orderly. There were chants calling for clean elections, speeches demanding institutional reforms, and an overall sense of unity among participants. People moved freely, vendors sold bottled water nearby, and journalists took positions to capture statements from organizers. At this stage, there was no sign that the protest would become anything more than another peaceful expression of political frustration. But within a short span of time, the mood shifted. According to several people who were present, the change happened suddenly. Shouts came from within the crowd, and individuals near the front began pushing backward. Some thought it was simply overcrowding, while others believed there was a disturbance ahead. Within seconds, the security detail around Peter Obi reacted. Their formation tightened, and they began guiding him away from the most congested area of the protest ground. The movement was swift and deliberate, signaling that something had triggered concern among those responsible for his safety. Videos that later circulated online show moments of confusion. Supporters appear startled, some raising their hands, others turning to see what had caused the disruption. There is no clear image of a weapon or an attacker in the footage that has emerged publicly. What is visible, however, is a change in behavior. Officers urging people to step back, aides forming a barrier, and Peter Obi being redirected away from the center of the crowd. The protest, which moments earlier had been focused on chants and speeches, briefly dissolved into uncertainty. Almost immediately, rumors began spreading across social media platforms. Posts claimed that an attempt had been made on Peter Obi's life. Others insisted that a suspect had been arrested or that a weapon had been intercepted. Some dismissed the entire episode as mere crowd pressure and panic. These competing narratives quickly polarized online audiences, with one side insisting that a grave danger had occurred and the other arguing that nothing serious had taken place. In the absence of an official statement, speculation filled the gap left by silence. What can be established with certainty is that there was a sudden security response. Peter Obi's movement was altered abruptly, and the protest was temporarily disrupted. Supporters believed a threat existed, whether real or perceived. No injuries were reported, and no public evidence has been released showing a direct attempt on his life. At the time of reporting, there has been no formal confirmation from law enforcement agencies that an assassination attempt occurred. There has also been no official announcement of a suspect or the recovery of a weapon. Yet the reaction of the security personnel remains significant. Protective details do not usually remove a principal from a crowd without cause. Their training is built around assessing risk in real time, responding to sudden movements, and preventing harm before it occurs. Even if the trigger for their response turns out to have been a false alarm, their actions indicate that they perceived a potential danger. In security terms, perception alone can be enough to justify evacuation, especially when the individual being protected is a national political figure. Peter Obi himself has not publicly described the incident as an assassination attempt. He has not accused any group or individual, nor has he issued a statement suggesting that his life was directly targeted. His silence on that specific claim has been noted by observers. It suggests caution and an effort not to inflame already tense political sentiments. In a climate where misinformation spreads rapidly, such restraint can be interpreted as an attempt to prevent a minor incident from becoming a major political flashpoint. The broader significance of what happened lies not only in the moment of panic, but in what it reveals about the environment in which political protests now take place. Nigeria has a history of election-related violence and political intimidation. Gatherings that are meant to express civic demands can quickly become risky, especially when prominent figures are present. The Abuja protest was intended to highlight concerns about electoral integrity, yet it ended up exposing vulnerabilities in public safety. For many citizens watching from home, the videos raised uncomfortable questions. If a peaceful protest involving calls for reform can be disrupted by fear of violence, what does that mean for ordinary Nigerians who want to express their views? Political participation depends on a sense of safety. When people believe that attending a rally or demonstration could put them in danger, they are less likely to take part. Over time, this erodes the very democratic culture that protests are meant to strengthen. The role of security agencies in such situations becomes crucial. Their responsibility is twofold: to protect individuals at risk and to maintain order among the wider public. In Abuja, their immediate focus appeared to be Peter Obi's safety. That priority is understandable given his political stature, but it also meant that the crowd was left confused about what had happened. Without clear communication, fear can spread faster than facts. A single shout can ripple through hundreds of people, turning calm into chaos. The absence of a detailed official explanation has allowed speculation to thrive. Some have interpreted the event as evidence of political hostility, while others see it as an example of how easily misinformation can take root. Both interpretations reflect deeper anxieties within Nigerian society. Trust in institutions remains fragile, and political loyalties are often intense. In such an environment, even ambiguous incidents can be weaponized in public discourse. This moment also fits into a wider pattern of heightened political sensitivity since the last general elections. Debates about electoral credibility, judicial decisions, and opposition politics continue to dominate conversations. Peter Obi remains a central figure in these debates, representing a movement that many young Nigerians associate with change. Any incident involving him is therefore magnified, not only because of who he is, but because of what he symbolizes to his supporters. From a media perspective, the challenge is to report responsibly without amplifying fear. Sensational claims of assassination attempts may attract attention, but they can also inflame tensions and mislead the public. The line between raising legitimate concerns and spreading unverified allegations is thin. In this case, what is known is limited. There was a scare, there was a reaction, and there was confusion. What is not known is whether there was an actual plot or simply a misunderstanding. Authorities have an opportunity to clarify the situation. A transparent account of what triggered the security response would help restore confidence. Was there a suspicious movement? Was someone detained for questioning? Was it merely a case of crowd surge misinterpreted as a threat? These are questions that, if answered, could calm public anxiety. Without answers, the incident remains suspended between fear and doubt. Supporters of Peter Obi and advocates of electoral reform also face a test. How they respond to this moment matters. Escalating rhetoric and unverified claims could deepen divisions, while calm insistence on facts and lawful protest could strengthen their cause. Political change has always required discipline as much as passion. Moments of tension reveal whether movements can maintain that discipline under pressure. In the end, what happened in Abuja may not be remembered as an assassination attempt, but it will likely be remembered as a warning. It showed how quickly a peaceful assembly can be overtaken by fear. It demonstrated the vulnerability of political gatherings in a polarized environment. And it highlighted the importance of accurate information in moments of uncertainty. A protest meant to call for integrity ended up raising questions about security. A gathering meant to show unity briefly dissolved into panic. These contradictions capture the fragile balance Nigeria's democracy is still trying to achieve. The right to assemble, the right to speak, and the right to feel safe are all intertwined. When one is threatened, the others are weakened. Until an official explanation is provided, the Abuja incident will remain an unresolved chapter in the story of Nigeria's ongoing struggle for political trust. It was not nothing, but neither was it conclusively something as grave as an attempted assassination. It occupied a space in between, where fear met speculation and silence met rumor. In that space, Citizens are left to wonder how close their political life is to danger and how easily moments of hope can turn into moments of alarm. What is certain is that the protest exposed a reality many already suspected, that Nigeria's political climate is tense, and that even peaceful demands can unfold under the shadow of insecurity. Whether this episode leads to greater caution, better security planning, or renewed calls for transparency will depend on what comes next. For now, it stands as a reminder that democracy is not only about votes and reforms, but also about the safety of those who dare to gather and demand them. What happened in Abuja raises questions that deserve honest answers, not silence and not exaggeration. Nigerians have a right to know what caused the security scare and whether public protests can still be held safely. If you believe peaceful protest should never turn into fear, then this conversation must continue. Share this video so more people can understand what really happened, not just what social media claims. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think enough is being done to protect political gatherings in Nigeria? Subscribe to this channel for factual updates and responsible analysis on Nigeria's political future. Because democracy does not survive on rumors, and it does not grow in silence. It survives when citizens stay informed, stay calm, and stay engaged.